It's 8 in the evening, 150 miles from the nearest coastline. On a steel platform standing in open ocean, the day shift has just ended, and in one narrow corridor, between the mess hall and the locker room, 20 men in clean coveralls are standing in a quiet line. They are not waiting for food. They are not waiting for the medic. At the end of the corridor is a sliding metal window, and behind the window is a man who spent his afternoon folding 200 sets of laundry. For the next half hour, he is a shopkeeper. His entire inventory fits in a room the size of a garden shed. His entire market is 200 customers who cannot go anywhere else, because there is nowhere else. And here's the impossible part. This is the only store within 150 miles in any direction. It holds a genuine monopoly over 200 trapped customers, and it is built, on purpose, to make no profit at all. So what is it actually for? But this story doesn't start at the window. It starts on shore, at a heliport, with a suitcase sitting on a scale. Every worker flying out to a platform gets a baggage allowance, and it is small. Depending on the heliport, it commonly sits somewhere between 25 and 35 pounds, and that has to cover boots, clothes, and everything a person needs for weeks of living offshore. So things get left behind. A razor, a phone charger, the second tube of toothpaste. At the scale, that feels like a smart trade. Around day 3 of the rotation, the bill for that decision comes due, and there is no drugstore to fix it. A platform rotation runs 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes 4, and if the weather turns, the helicopter that was supposed to bring your replacement does not fly, and the rotation quietly grows longer. Now put yourself on day 23 of that. 12 hours of work, 7 days a week, no day off. The same corridors, the same faces, the same gray water in every direction. Offshore operators learned a long time ago that in that world, very small things start doing very heavy lifting. A candy bar after a night shift is not really a candy bar anymore. It is proof that the ordinary world still exists. That is the job the store was built to do. The industry has different names for it. On American rigs, it is often called the commissary. In the North Sea, workers talk about the bond. The room itself is nothing. A locked storefront tucked into the accommodation block. Shelves on 3 walls, sometimes a hatch instead of a door. What matters is who runs it, because the store has no staff of its own. It belongs to the same small team that runs everything else a hotel would do, and at the top of that team is a figure this channel has met before, the camp boss. On a platform, the camp boss is the closest thing to a mayor. Beds, meals, laundry, cleaning, and the store. One chain of responsibility, usually backed by a handful of stewards and cooks. The man at the sliding window sells chocolate for half an hour because it is one more task on a list that started before dawn, somewhere between checking freezer temperatures, walking the cabins, and signing for next week's provisions. On a platform, the person handing over a tube of toothpaste at 8 in the evening probably inspected a container of frozen beef that same morning. Retail is a side effect of his real job, which is running a hotel that can never close, for guests who can never check out early. Nobody employs a dedicated cashier on a drilling platform. There is a catering crew, and the store opens when their day allows it, often around shift change, and how long and how often varies from rig to rig. On some installations, it is a nightly window. On others, it is a cupboard the camp boss unlocks on request. Nobody publishes those hours. You learn them the same way you learn everything else out there, by asking the man ahead of you in line. What is on the shelves is decided by a survey. Before rotations, crews get asked what they want stocked, what ran out, what they miss, and the answers, over the years, have settled into a portrait of what men actually need in a metal town at sea. Toothpaste, razors, deodorant, the things the baggage scale stole. Chocolate, chips, nuts, energy drinks, the small currencies of a 12-hour shift. Phone chargers and headphones, because a dead phone offshore is a lost link to a family on shore, and because in a shared cabin, a good pair of headphones is the closest thing to a private room that money can buy out there. Paperback books and magazines still sell too, to the men who spend their whole shift staring at screens and want their off hours pointed anywhere else. Spare coveralls and gloves. And, on rig after rig, one item that outsells its own logic. Crocs. Bright orange ones, camouflage ones, team colors. Steel toe boots own the deck, but off shift, in the accommodation, 200 serious industrial workers pad around in foam clogs. It sounds like a joke until you have worked 12 hours in safety boots. Then it sounds like medicine. Just as telling is what the store does not sell. There is no beer fridge, and there is no quiet exception to that. Alcohol is banned outright on modern rigs, zero tolerance. And on many crews, the testing starts before the flight, with workers breathalyzed at the heliport. Arrive with last night still in your blood and you are not boarding, and quite possibly not employed. The store also sells cigarettes, often cheaper than on shore because of duty-free rules, one of the few bargains out there. But it sells no lighters. On an installation built on top of pressurized oil and gas, a loose flame in a pocket is treated as a threat, and on many rigs carrying one is a firing offense. Smokers use a designated room, where the only flame is a fixed electric element mounted in the wall, pressed like a doorbell, glowing orange for a few seconds, impossible to pocket and walk away with. A store that sells tobacco but not fire says more about where it is standing than any warning sign could. If this look inside the closed worlds of heavy industry is working for you, subscribe. There is a lot more of this platform left to open up. The window takes no cash. That is the next strange thing a new worker learns. On most rigs, as crews describe it, nobody standing in that corridor is holding a wallet. A purchase gets logged against the worker's name and comes out of the paycheck at the end of the rotation. And on some installations, a card or cash drawer exists, but deduction is the default. Veterans barely notice it. New hands learn something from it, because offshore money has a strange weightlessness, earned in a place with nothing to spend it on, and that quiet line of deductions at the bottom of a pay statement is often the first proof a first-timer gets that the island was never actually free, which means the only store for 150 miles is also a store with no till to rob, in a town with no cash, run on a ledger. And now the strangest part, the prices. A chocolate bar at that window can cost double or triple its price on land, and the reason is not greed. The bar came out on a supply vessel or under a helicopter's weight budget, rode a crane over open water, and sat in climate-controlled storage, and the operator prices the shelf to claw back cost, not to earn. By industry estimates, running a deep-water operation burns several $100,000 a day. Against that number, a shelf of candy is not a business. It is maintenance. Not for the machines, for the people. An operator that loses an experienced crew member to burnout pays far more than it will ever collect at that window, and the companies know it. That is why the monopoly never behaves like one. The store with the most captive customers on Earth is run at cost, restocked by survey, and open for half an hour, because its entire purpose is to make a steel island feel slightly less like one. The store has rituals too. The line at the window is one of the few places where the drill floor, the galley, and the control room stand shoulder to shoulder, with rank left outside. For 5 minutes, the man who supervises the well waits his turn behind the man who paints handrails, and both of them are just customers deciding between two brands of chocolate. Regulars know which bars run out first and buy accordingly, and there is a whole etiquette about taking the last of anything, part of the web of unwritten rules that governs life out there. And in the last days before crew change, the window gets busy in a different way. Men stock up to go home. Duty-free tobacco within the customs limit, a few chocolates for the kids. Small things. After weeks of 12-hour shifts, walking off the helicopter with something in a bag, however small, closes the trip like a receipt. It is the closest thing the rotation has to a souvenir shop. Then there are the weeks when the system shows its edges. The shelves at that window live at the end of a long, weather-dependent supply line, and when a storm parks itself over the field, the boats wait. The kitchen is protected, deep stores, backup rations. Nobody offshore goes hungry. The store enjoys no such guarantee. The rig might have weeks of flour and frozen meat, and 3 days of chocolate, and the clock starts the moment the forecast turns. The energy drinks go first, crews will tell you, then the best of the candy. Then the cigarettes get watched like fuel gauges. None of it is dangerous. All of it is felt. A platform can run safely for weeks on backup food, but a smoke room full of men counting their last cigarettes is its own kind of weather system, and every camp boss knows which storm they would rather manage. A delayed crew change squeezes from the other side too. The men stay longer than planned. The shelves were stocked for a rotation that should have ended, and the window starts answering the hardest question in retail: how to ration comfort fairly among 200 people who have all earned it. It's 2 in the morning now, the other end of the same day. A man comes off the night shift with his hearing still full of engine noise, too tired to be hungry, too wired to sleep. The mess hall is quiet. The gym is empty. And at the end of the corridor, the shutter is down, but the steward on late duty sees him and opens the hatch anyway, because out there everyone knows exactly what this is. The man takes one chocolate bar. No money moves. A line gets written in a ledger, 150 miles from the nearest road. It is the smallest transaction in an industry that measures itself in barrels and billions, and it might be the one that matters most, because the machinery out there runs on pressure and steel, but the crew runs on sleep, food, and small, ordinary comforts arriving on time. Somewhere in a supply chain built for drill pipe and diesel, someone remembered to order chocolate. The man at the window is why the town works.